I'll start with the chapter Dirty Astronaut Diapers, which is the first chapter in the book. And it was actually how I sold the book off this first chapter. I became semi-obsessed with Lisa Nowak, who is the astronaut, former astronaut who drove from Houston to Orlando to talk to her lover's other lover, right? And I just thought that story was so ridiculous because it kind of proved that no matter how successful you are as a woman, you can still go crazy. And so I wanted to start a blog about her. Me and my best friend were going to start a blog, and we were going to call it Dirty Astronaut Diapers. And we didn't do it because blogs take a lot of time and we're lazy. And I thought, well, I should write a whole book. That'll be easier than a blog. But I started with this first chapter called Dirty Astronaut Diapers, which is essentially kind of drops you in the deep end with this whole single black woman hysteria that the mainstream media seems to be a little bit obsessed with. So this is our single black womanness, and I'll read briefly from this. Right now, it's September in Washington, which means the annual legislative conference of the Congressional Black Caucus is in town. The CBC is to single black chick Washington as Fleet Week is to single white gal New York. Seamen, how about degreed men? Dude, I will be out there for the menses. Gina, my best friend, emails me in advance of flying 4 hours to spend half as many days scouring the capital city for the new American dream. Political husband, professional wife, and perfect children. We hurdled one party after another, double daring ourselves to find someone worth the spanks. Really, the whole weekend was an exercise in corporal punishment, the highlights. One guy told me I had award-winning calves. Then he handed me his business card. Sweet, but fat. Another asked me what I did for a living, and then before I could answer, he slipped me his card, which read sartorial artist, in the fancy letters that should be reserved for wedding invites. Dude, he's a seamstress, said Gina. Next. Then a friend who starred in more than a few of my mental pornos showed up with his jeans tucked into combat boots. He's gay, right? Said Gina. No. I gave serious googly eyes to a few other prospects who gave me the side eye in return. Gina gave her number to some dude I said was a dork, and, she said, I stared at the back of his egg-shaped head for a few seconds, mentally compelling her to call him on Monday. He didn't. The rest of our nights were spent pointing out who was gay, everybody, and then the weekend was over. Now we're headed home alone with each other, as usual. It's practically scientific how hyped one gets before a night out, all hopped up on new kids and Corona, and then how quickly hope deflates. We say it's because we're getting too old for the club, but I swear it's because we're getting just bored of it. Plus, my feet hurt. Why is there never any place to sit down? Gina's staring out of the window of her discontent as we drive up Rhode Island Avenue, lost in thought. I'm 28, she says, breaking the silence of a night that produced more bunions than love connections. This shit isn't a fucking game anymore, she says. I'm fucking tired, she says. It's 2008, she says. I say, and look out my own window, wondering when and having absolutely no answers for her. We go the rest of the way in silence, drag ourselves up 4 flights of stairs, and fall asleep. Tomorrow, maybe, will be different. Well, I already knew that I was going to write a collection of personal essays before I had even come up with the title. The working title of the book was Dirty Astronaut Diapers, but nobody got that but me, and nobody thought it was funny but me. So I had already been working on the book. I had written a couple of the essays already, and I knew I wanted it to be kind of like a being a black woman, being me, basically, because there had been so much at the time. This was like 2007. There had been so much, even then in 2007. Now it's like at a just insane amount. But then there had been so much written about black women as opposed to anything written by black women. So I wanted something in the marketplace by a black woman. And, I always hide behind Tina Fey. I was watching Saturday Night Live when I was trying to figure out, what we would call the book. And she said, "Bitch is the new black" on Saturday Night Live, in reference to Hillary Clinton, who's obviously a white woman, about just modern feminism, how we view women, how we view the types of women we might not really know personally, but just assume they are quote-unquote bitches, whatever that means. And as soon as she said it, I thought, that's genius. I got to steal that. So I called my agent the next day. I was like, we got to put this on the proposal. We got to steal it before someone else does. And he got it too. He got it immediately. And I was wanting at first. I was like, why don't we do "Bitch is the New Black?" question mark, or like "Bitch isn't the new black?" And he was like, no, just do "Bitch is the New Black," and people kind of hopefully get it, and people are getting it. So it wasn't like I came up with the title and then like, oh, I'm going to write a book in defense of bitches. That wasn't the case at all. I knew what the book would be, and I wanted a title that would kind of glue all of that together, glue all these like disparate essays about a lot of different things in my life, and kind of make them make sense. And I just thought, "Bitch is the New Black" made a lot of sense. Maybe that's my twisted mind, but it doesn't necessarily refer to black women. Obviously, I am a black woman, but it's the story of my life from beginning to middle, and black women obviously relate to it. White women have related to it. Men are reading the book. So it's about bitch being in vogue, or bitch being the perception of a certain type of woman who you might not know. Because after you read the book, maybe you don't think bitch is the new black. So that was that. I think she would love it. Obviously, I want you to buy the book. If she's going after college, yes, because it's funny. Like a lot of my little cousins want to read it. I was like, no. This is 18, NC-17 only book. But what I'm like, a lot of college girls will tweet me. I'm on Twitter. I'm like obsessed with Twitter. Will tweet me, and they kind of get it because the stories. I'm 29 now, but a lot of the stories are about college, about my first job. About the wake-up call of knowing that just because you have this degree doesn't mean the doors to this great career are open to you, and you're going to be this perfect person. So I think there's definitely a lot in there for young women. And then women in their 20s, women who are, trying to straddle this idea of, should I be a wife and mother? Should that be important to me? Am I weird because I don't think it's important to me right now? Or any woman who's been in her 20s, you know what I mean? So I think definitely for someone headed off to college, it would make a lot of sense. Well, I had a non-traditional route to the book deal because I was already a working journalist, because I'm a writer, because there's a lot of books by people who are not writers, by like comedians or actors, but I am a writer. So I was working at the time at Politico, which is an online political magazine, which makes absolutely no sense because I hate politics. And I knew I always wanted to write a book, and a friend of mine had just written a book called "This Is Your Country on Drugs." And I told him what I wanted to write. I wanted to write like the story of me and my mother, and like just like this like long memoir about like childhood basically. And he was like, "Oh, I think that's a good idea. You should meet my agent." So I met his agent, and we worked together on that idea for a couple of months. And then we had this lunch, and he was like, "I think you could do something different. I think you could do something like a little bit more commercial. There's a lot of memoirs by young women coming out right now. Like, do you have anything to add to that conversation?" I was like, "Yes, I do, actually," because I didn't see anything by black women, and I thought that would be a great addition to the marketplace. So I pitched him that idea, and he was like, "Oh, that's great. Let's work on that." And we started working on that, like, say, in April, and then the book was sold by August. Yeah. And then we sold the movie rights to the book. Yeah. Mm-hmm. To Shonda Rhimes, who's the producer of Grey's Anatomy and Private Practice.
So you're ramen noodles now.
Not quite. People think you get off the ramen noodles. Still on the ramen noodles. So Shonda is going to be the executive producer of the project, and she's optioned it for Fox Searchlight Pictures. So, and I'm going to write the screenplay. But it's it's a very long process. Even though our process is going faster because of Shonda Rhimes, obviously. She's like, got all this cachet. Like, she's a bigwig. So I'm excited about that. That's the next project. So I'll be dealing with this book for a long time, basically. I do a regular column for The Root called Single Minded, which is just, whatever, about me. About me living in D.C., being single, and being like a modern young woman. And then I contribute to a blog called Politics Daily. And they have a feminist blog on politics and pop culture called Woman Up, and I've contributed to there as well. So those are like my jobs, I guess, even though I really don't have a job. In the book, I started writing the book in October 2008, and I finished the first draft by April 2009. So however many months that is, like 9? 6? Okay. I was an English major. So it took me that long to like write the first draft, and then we spent like 4 months ripping it apart